I know you're back there, friends and neighbors. And I turn around and look at you, but I'm engaged in a word war with Alto your Clef. See, every so often NaNoWriMoers will compete with each other. In order to make this a little bit more interesting, we'll have word wars. So I have the next 3 hours to write as many words as possible, and Chloe's going to write as many words as possible, and we'll see who writes the most. Of course, it becomes even more complicated for YouTubers because we also have to document the experience, and that takes a little bit more time. But I figured while I was doing this, I would present one of my NaNoWriMo advice videos. Last year I talked about the top 10 ways to bump up your NaNoWriMo word count. And this year I am once again making a video in the middle of that week 2 slump, and so I thought I'd try to help you get out of the slump. So here are my top 10 ways to get your spark back and get out of that NaNoWriMo week 2 slump. Number 10, friendly competition. NaNoWriMo by itself is not inherently competitive. Like, there's no reward for getting to 50,000 words first or for writing the most words. It's just a competition against yourself, basically. Can you write 50,000 words in 30 days? But that doesn't mean that you can't engage in friendly competition with other people, like I'm doing right now with Chloe, or like I did last year and I'm doing this year with my sister, by the way, Cass. 27,000. You get to a point where you're not so much worried about the story or making it perfect anymore, you're just trying to write more words than the other guy, and it can really sharpen your focus. Number 9, skip ahead. Sometimes the whole reason you're stuck is because you're in a section that you don't really want to write, but it's a necessary section to get to the next major plot point that you do want to write. So, skip ahead and write that section. Don't worry about this boring transition stuff. Go to the stuff that you want to write, and that'll bump up your word count, and it'll help you to maybe figure out how you're going to get to that section. Number 8, change the point of view. Sometimes you might be writing your story from the point of view of one character, and it might be helpful to switch to one of the other characters and find out how they see things. It may not be how you planned your story to go, and it may not make any sense, but it might help you to understand both your characters and your story better, and remember, you can always change things in editing. And it might open up completely new possibilities for your novel. One of the problems that a lot of novel writers have during NaNoWriMo is that they're stuck in this plan. Things have to be the way they planned them, and so they don't open themselves up for new possibilities. Case in point, number 7. Add a new character. Not only does it bump up your word count, but it gives an entirely new perspective on what's going on. And it can add something to your story that you didn't even know that it was missing. I'm a big believer in adding new characters. I did it for Last Places, and I'm doing it for this novel. Number 6, write a dream sequence. The nice thing about dream sequences is they don't have to make sense. You can just write complete nonsense down and it's okay, because it's a dream sequence. But a good dream sequence can also give, again, another perspective on what's happening in your story. And you might keep it in, and you might not. But just like a real dream, it might help you to figure things out. Now, so far, all the things that I've mentioned are things that you can do within the actual novel itself while you're writing. However, it's also important to step away from your novel every so often. I know that this might seem to fly in the face of NaNoWriMo philosophy, just keep writing no matter what, but sometimes you just need to walk away for a while, and there are some great constructive procrastination methods you can use that will also help you get your inspiration back. Starting with number 5, do some other creative endeavor. You can work on another writing project, but it's probably best to do something that doesn't involve writing. So you could draw something, you could sculpt something, you could edit a video, anything. Something that's creative and something that doesn't necessarily involve writing, and that might help you to get your inspiration back for other creative endeavors, like your NaNoWriMo novel. Number 4. Do something physical. For example, I run, because running is something that's relatively uncomplicated. It's just you running, doing something that our primal nature tells us exactly how to do. You don't have to put any thought into it at all. And it helps to get the mental juices flowing, and it helps me to kind of sort out problems while I am doing this relatively mindless activity with nothing else to occupy my mind. Running might be your thing. You might also enjoy biking, push-ups, intercourse, any kind of exercise. Number 3, go outside. Walk around in nature, walk around in the city, walk around in your apartment complex. Just go out and be in another environment for a while. Remember, your story probably takes place in another environment other than your computer and the four walls that you're surrounded with. So go be in another environment. Number 2. Listen to music. I'm not talking about listening to music while you're writing, because some of you might find that distracting. I know I do. I'm talking about just sitting and listening to music. Preferably something inspirational. Stay away from like slow, sad, sappy songs. Listen to something inspirational and upbeat, something that's going to tell you, yes, you can do this. A lot of you find my song from 2 years ago, 1,667 words, to be particularly inspirational. And I'm not necessarily telling you have to listen to that song, although that's very flattering, but anything that's inspirational. And the number 1 way that you can get your inspiration back in that NaNoWriMo Week 2 slump, read. But I'm not talking about reading just any old book. I want you to pick a very specific book. Every writer has that one book that first inspired them to write. That one story that was so good and so inspiring that after they were done reading it, they thought, I want to write my own story. Find that book or those books and read them. Read them until you rediscover what your inspiration is, and then maybe you'll be able to finish your own story. And time's up. Okay, so I started the beginning of this 3 hours with 26,830 words and ended it with 32,207 words, which, if I'm not mistaken, brings my word total for 3 hours at 5,377 words. Whether I did better than Chloe, only time will tell. So thanks for joining me for this word war between myself and Alto Your Clef 2011, and thanks for joining me for the top 10 video. I hope it helped some of you get out of your week 2 slump. And until next time, this is Matt Guyan, getting right back to that word count.